If our divine maker had meant for us to walk upside down, he would have put feet on our hands. Children, listen to me. Look around you. All around you. As far as the eye can see, the earth is flat.
We have to change our idea that the world is flat. In truth, it is round and shaped like a ball.
That's not what the Reverend told us, Miss Sarah. Why don't we fall off when we walk underneath, Miss Sarah?
Because of a force called gravity.
What does gravity look like?
Gravity is something we can't see, but we know it's a great invisible force that keeps us all here on Earth. Some of you know what a magnet is, don't you?
I do.
I do.
Well, then let's think of it like that. Gravity could be called a kind of magnet. It's a natural force that keeps us all from flying off into space.
We were always told that the world is flat.
You were told right. Don't listen to her.
It's proved the world wasn't flat by sailing around it.
If he was sailing upside down, the water would have emptied into the sky.
Why can't you accept it? It's a proven scientific fact.
Sarah, what you speak is heresy. Our divine maker intended us to walk upright, not upside down. We've had enough of this scientific nonsense of yours. School is over.
It is Photoshop, but it's has to be.
How is it that we don't have endless pictures of this world from space at this point in time?
Wooden ships on the water, very free and easy. Easy, you know the way it's supposed to be. Silver on the shoreline, let us be talking about very free and easy. As we watch you die, all we can do is echo your anguished cries. Stare as all human feelings die. We are.
You like? Subscribe!
I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
This is a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Well, Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral, would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth, are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow. The government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand. I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia. But why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation. The bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies.
I was going to ask you, does it have...
A light shone in the night some way ahead. Blue turned into green, then it was red. And stirring the night, love music played. The light I saw in the night was a penny arcade. Up and play, machine seems to say, as I walk round and round the penny arcade. Just ring the bell on the big bagatelle, and you make all the colored lights cascade, and music plays in the penny arcade. Well, it played and it played, played all the time. Roll up and spend your last time. At first I thought it a dream that I was in. Lost, lost in a sea of glass and tin. But no, so dipping my hand in the back of my jeans, I grabbed a handful of coins to feed the machine. And step up and play, machine seemed to say, as I walk right around the penny arcade. Just ring the bell on the big bagatelle, and you make all the colored lights cascade, and music plays in the penny arcade. Well, they played and they played, played all the time. Roll up and spend your last time. Oh, step up and play, each machine seemed to say, as I walk round and round the penny arcade. Just ring the bell on the big bagatelle, and you make all the colored lights cascade, and music plays in the penny arcade. Well, they played and they played, played all the time. Roll up and spend your last, roll up and spend your last, roll up and spend your last dime. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to I'll go on home, it's late. There'll be tomorrow night, but wait, what do I see?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. On Monday night here on BBC4, there's a rare chance to catch Roy Orbison and friends. A whole host of famous faces appear in black and white nights, Monday at 25 to 1.
No one believes the Earth is flat, motionless, and at the centre of the known and knowable universe. It is self-evident that this is the case. It is the globe model which requires belief. I remember when I first heard about flat Earth, it was 2015. I remember thinking to myself, how can the shape of the Earth be a serious point of debate in the 21st century? Because of course with all the pictures and video taken by the various space agencies in existence, the truth must just be a Google search away, right? So when I got home later that evening, I opened Google and I asked for pictures of the Earth from space. Which one do you think is the real Earth? Must be this blue marble shot from the Apollo 17 mission taken in '72, right? I mean, CGI wasn't even a thing back then, was it? But these others... At this point in time, and based on my current understanding, I don't think it can ever be proven the Earth is flat. Or more accurately, it can never be proven that it has no physical form beyond what we are able to perceive with our own senses, which is that it is flat, motionless, the centre of the universe. What we can do with an open mind, a bit of critical thinking, not to mention a requisite and I believe healthy disregard for peer pressure, is spend a bit of time on the internet learning about the proposed flat model with all its problems, and learn about the problems of the globe model. Remember, the vast majority of people believe unquestioningly that they live on a spinning ball, but very few indeed are able to demonstrate why. The difficulty for 99% of us is that the programming is very, very deep, and critical thinking, at least when it comes to something this huge and fundamental, is insufficiently developed. For example, if you think the official 9/11 story makes sense, if you believe a 500,000-ton building made of steel columns collapsed at free fall speed straight down into its own footprint due to asymmetrical damage from a lightweight aluminium aircraft and localised fires on the upper floors, not just once mind, but twice, you're not ready for flat Earth. Not by a long shot. From what you observe, why do you believe the Sun is massive and distant and the Moon is relatively small and close? Why do you believe that one orbits us while we orbit the other? Because that's what we were told? Why do you believe you can see the curve going away from you, that is, you can see a ship disappear over the horizon? What if I told you that a 6-foot person stood at roughly sea level can see at most 4 miles to the horizon? On a globe supposedly 8,000 miles in diameter, is 4 miles enough to see the curve with the naked eye? What if I told you perspective is the reason objects appear smaller and ultimately disappear as they approach the vanishing point, and that perspective functions this way regardless of whether we are theoretically on a sphere or a flat plane? I have linked the video I used to illustrate this point in the description box. It is a quite brilliant step-by-step explanation of how perspective and mirror distortion causes boats to apparently vanish, not the curvature of the Earth. Stop looking for proof of the flat Earth, look instead at the so-called proofs of the globe. Pictures of Earth from space. Most of these are taken from the ISS. Curved lenses are used, which give the illusion of a curved horizon. This doesn't prove it's flat, it just shows that the image has been manipulated to show something which is either not nearly as pronounced in actual reality, or it's not there at all. If it's really there to be seen, just show us and a lot of flat earthers will happily admit being wrong. The fisheye lens also gives the false impression that the ISS is much further from Earth than it really is. The second type of picture we have of Earth, and the only type to show anything approaching the full disk, is the CGI composite. Made by satellites usually in low Earth orbit, which spiral across the Earth's surface in what's known as an inclined orbit, collecting data which is then assembled in Photoshop into the completely fake looking blue marbles.
It is photoshopped, but it has to be.
Eratosthenes and his sticks. Legend has it that a man living in the 3rd century BC observed sunlight shining vertically down a well in Syene, Egypt, on the summer solstice, and at the same time knew that a stick placed in the ground 600 miles north in Alexandria would cast a shadow. He used this observation to calculate the Earth's circumference remarkably consistently with the size calculated by modern scientists. He made several major assumptions, however. 1. That the Earth's surface is curved. 2. That the Sun is millions of miles away and extremely large. 3. That light rays reaching us from the Sun are parallel. He would have found exactly the same results had he assumed a flat Earth with a much smaller local Sun and non-parallel sun rays. Again, this is not a proof that the Earth is flat, but it certainly does not prove the globe either. I would suggest that it gives weight to the duality of physical reality, that it can effortlessly be one thing or the other, shifting around the observer depending on their beliefs and the assumptions they make. Seeing further from a higher vantage point. As you gain altitude, the horizon rises to eye level. This is observed by anyone taking a flight in a commercial airliner reaching typical cruising altitudes of around 35 to 40,000 feet. This is exactly consistent with what we would expect to see on a flat Earth. I wouldn't call it proof, however, because even on a sphere, with the ground curving away uniformly in all directions from the observer, the horizon will still appear flat until you reach a very high altitude indeed. Amateur weather balloons reach altitudes of 120,000 feet, 3 times that of a commercial airliner, and those using non-fisheye lenses show a flat horizon which always rises to eye level. How big is this globe supposed to be? Again, the horizon is a function of point perspective, that's how our vision works, and not the result of a curving surface dropping away from view. I've seen it with my own eyes from the window of a plane. At sea level we experience air pressure of 1 kilogram per square centimetre, or 1 atmosphere. At 40,000 feet, a typical cruising altitude for a long-haul commercial airliner, we experience 0.192 atmospheres. That's a 90% reduction in air pressure. If you've ever flown, you will have felt your ears pop as the plane ascends after takeoff. Although the cabin is pressurised to some degree, this is also a function of altitude and reduced air pressure. The effect on the aluminium skin and indeed the windows of the plane is many, many times greater than that on your eardrums. The whole exterior of the plane is effectively being sucked outwards. Don't worry though, the windows are specially designed to flex under pressure. In doing so, however, they create a slightly curved lens distorting the horizon. Here is a video from a fighter jet at a much higher altitude than a commercial flight. Watch the horizon change as the camera pans from the very curved glass at the front of the cockpit to the much flatter glass at the side. The glass in plane windows is bending the light, just as a specifically designed lens would. One of the easiest to spot and most undeniable NASA fakes of all is the deceptively simple illusion created by the crew of Apollo 11, Aldrin, Armstrong and Collins, in 1969. They claim to be around 200,000 miles from Earth on final approach to the Moon, and they are looking back to Earth with a camera pressed up against the window of their spacecraft. The illusion is ruined, however, when one of the astronauts' arms gets in the way of the shot, and the camera moves, revealing the interior of the craft. The apparent distant Earth effect is created by the darkened interior and a circular porthole window. I'll leave a link in the description box below so that you can watch the whole film and decide for yourself. The dead giveaway of this hoax is the original shot they compose, which shows the so-called Terminator line, where day meets night on the planet's surface, running horizontally around the Earth's diameter. The sun rises in the south and sets in the north, right? Later they correct this mistake to show the Terminator line running vertically, as we are told it should do. Don't worry, Brian, no one's really going into space. It's all theory built upon theory. When you cannot find any incontrovertible evidence of rotation, sphericity, a molten magnetic core, genuinely incontrovertible manned flights beyond the upper atmosphere, satellites, genuinely incontrovertible conventional digital images of the Earth from space, evidence of gravity which cannot be more simply and economically explained by density and buoyancy, then you have moved out of a belief in something that you cannot prove and into a knowledge of how little you know about one of the largest and deepest fundamentals of our shared reality. This is powerful stuff for those with the stones to let go of familiarity. But why hide the truth? The thing in your mind that tells you the Earth is definitely a globe is primarily a lifetime of indoctrination, confirmed by some questionable observations which rely on prior assumption to come to the right conclusion. Who's behind it doesn't matter for the purposes of simply admitting to oneself that there is doubt. There is doubt here about one of the most fundamental cornerstones of our shared physical reality. Doubt equals possibility. In this case, literally infinite possibility. They're not hiding the shape of the Earth, they're hiding the fact that there is no physical Earth, nor space, just simply a projection in the mind of the observer, in the collective mind of all observers. If you tell everyone it's a spinning globe and show a bit of dodgy CGI and mountains of sci-fi, they'll buy it and start collectively projecting that reality. You only need to watch the news to see how the populace are being manipulated into creating a world of inequality, fear, separation, and general chaos. Someone figured this out a long time ago at the dawn of civilization and invented the first gods and used them as leverage to harness the minds of their peers. This truth has remained secret and been passed down to the present day, and they're still at it. The globe Earth is one of the central tenets of a religion without a name, adhered to by almost every man, woman and child in existence. I'm genuinely looking forward to the proposed manned mission to Mars. I am genuinely looking forward to Virgin Galactic and the advent of space tourism. I'm ready to eat humble pie when I see a conventional digital video of the complete Earth rotating in space, or even an amateur weather balloon video of the curve with no fisheye lens might sway me. I have looked and not yet seen these things, but I have seen a lot of thinly veiled fakery from amateurs, from NASA and other space agencies. Why would they need to fake it if it were really there to be seen? Why would they employ fisheye lenses on the ISS if they were genuinely high enough to see the curve? Why would the Apollo 11 crew fake being far from Earth if they were actually going to travel far from Earth? I've seen Epic Discover, Himawari and loads of ISS stuff, by the way. About as realistic as Star Trek. Once you put on the special glasses, that is. Outer space isn't physical, it's another dimension. Other worlds and entities do exist out there, but not in the physical sense. It is our limited human perspective which assumes that if this place called Earth is physical in nature, then other worlds must be too. But even that is an erroneous assumption. All the effort that goes into making us think there is such a place as outer space, Hollywood, NASA, is there really any difference? Is an effort to use humanity's collective creative consciousness to manifest just such a place. Manifest a way out of the closed system that is physical Earth. The entirety of the one physical dimension in existence.
Is this a hoax? Are you really in space still?
I'm a fire earther. I'm a fire earther. I'm a fire earther. I'm a fire earther. Hey, my name is Tristan and I'm in second grade, and I asked my teacher to show me an experiment where water curves. She couldn't do it because it doesn't curve. The water always finds a level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. I'm a flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther, flat earther. Hey, my name is Tristan, and I'm in second grade, and I asked my teacher to show me an experiment where water curves. She couldn't do it because it doesn't curve. The water always finds the water. Always finds the water. Always finds the water. Always finds the water.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Rip this up for sound bites. This is awesome.
The world, she's flat. The world, she's round. She's flat. Look, King, she's round like the apple. She's flat like the pancake. Posta fazool. She's round, she's firm, she's fully packed. She's round like my head. She's flat like your head. A biscuit tortone. What's up, Docs? I'm a disgust. Nobody believes that the world she's around. She looks around to me, Doc.
Oh, boys, come here.
Queen Isabella.
If you can prove the world is round, Chris, I'll give you my jewels.
Ravioli.
1492, when even the most learned of astronomers believed that the world was as flat as a pancake. Until one day, Christopher Columbus proved to the Queen that the world was round. Impressed by the demonstration, the Queen gave Columbus the fabulous crown jewels.
Thanks. Thanks, Queenie.
Came the day of departure. Columbus was prepared to face the dangers of the unknown sea, aided by his brave crew.
Inside, in Europe, the people were white-skinned. They had learned how to build houses and large sailing ships, but they still didn't know much about the rest of the world. In fact, most of them believed the earth was flat. Then one day, a map maker named Christopher Columbus had an idea.
Do you know what? I think the world isn't flat at all. I think it's round like a ball.
Did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? He said that the world is round. Oh,
he's crazy. I think the world isn't flat at all. I think it's round like a ball.
The world's as flat as the brim of your hat, and that is very plain.
I know that I'm right. Oh, I know that I'm right when I say that the world is round. Oh, I'm right. Oh, I'm right. My thinking is sound, and I'll prove the world's round. It won't take very long.
But it did take long, 7 long years, before Columbus could convince a king or a queen to let him try out his idea. Then Queen Isabella of Spain agreed to supply the ships and men for his trip.
I will discover a shortcut to India and bring back some of the great wealth I find there. And I can do it, for I know the world is round. And instead of going east to India, I shall sail west and reach India around the other way. It will be a shorter and cheaper way, for I'll do it all by sea.
Queen Isabella provided Columbus with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. And on August 3rd, 1492, they set sail across the unknown Atlantic.
High on the foaming tide, over the ocean.
Yes, a mutiny. The captain thinks the world is around, see? But we all know it's a flat, right?
Of course it's flat. Sure, I know the world is flat.
Well, so do I. Everybody knows that.
Good, good.
You see, my crew thinks the earth is a flat, but we know it's a round, right?
Yeah, right. Sure, it's round.
Of course it's round.
just fall back when you're out of the blue and into the black.
Smoke one for me. Waiting to be free. Yeah.
Systemprotest.
Up in the hills, Jah grows his seed, giving life to everything. Go watch it grow for people I know. Need this medicine, and angry police sent like disease. Come after week, destruction increase as they work to fight Jah people sent upon creation. Smoke one for me, smoke one for me, and all the way behind these prison walls, waiting to be free. Smoke one for me, smoke one for me, and all the way behind these prison walls, waiting patiently for planting a seed and cultivating. They're after me for fighting their freedom, waiting to catch anyone who falls in their snare. Waking the sheep, kept cozy asleep one by one, and each mystery explained in full so you know exactly why they fight us. So smoke one for me, smoke one for me, yeah, and all the way behind these prison walls, waiting to be free. Said smoke one for me, yeah, and all the way behind these prison walls, yeah, waiting to be free. Smoke one for me, waiting to be free. Some make a taste, some smoke them dutchy, some make us solid to see. All of Jah mysteries around us, and don't ever judge, just show them the love. Know who you are, for you are mighty above, and be one of them children I've sent to bring upon creation. and grow. Yeah, smoke one for me, smoke one for me. And all the way behind this prison wall, waiting, smoke one for me, smoke one for me, yeah. And all the way behind these prison walls, waiting to be free, yeah. Grows the seed, giving life to everything. Go watch it grow for people I know need this medicine. And angry police sent like disease, come after week. Destruction increase as they work to fight job people sent upon creation. Smoke one for me, smoke one for me. And all the way behind these prison walls, waiting to be free. Smoke one for me, smoke one for me. All the way behind these prison walls, waiting patiently for planting a seed and cultivating. They're after me for fighting their freedom, waiting to catch anyone that falls is in their snare. Waking the sheep, kept cozy asleep one by one, and each mystery explained in full so you know exactly why they fight us. So smoke one for me, smoke one for me, yeah. And all the way behind these prison walls, waiting to be free. Said smoke one for me, smoke one for me, yeah. And all the way behind these prison walls, yeah, waiting to be free. Smoke one for me, waiting to be free. Some make a taste, some smoke them dirty, some make a solid to see. All of your mysteries around us, and don't ever judge, just show them the love. Know who you are, for you're mighty above, and be one of them children I've sent to bring upon creation and grow. Yeah, smoke one for me, smoke one for me. And all the way behind this prison wall, waiting, smoke one for me, smoke one for me, yeah. And all the way behind these prison walls, waiting to be free, yeah. Waiting to be free. Waiting to be free. Smoke one for me. Waiting to be free.
Y'all say it's a distraction, but look what's happening. Truth is taken to the streets with the plan of action. Why would they fit, but how would we live? Yo, what's the point, man? It is what it is. Well, how you think those captains navigate the sea? It's easy as plain trigonometry. Ask any surveyor or architect if there's a lake of curvature that they can detect. Even civil engineers see we ain't ionosphere. Ask pilots what they see when they up in the air, saying that we're all monkeys on a ball spinning east. As if we don't belong, we're like we're some kind of disease. Now, have you ever seen a river running uphill? That's what I thought, and you never will. You want a nail in the coffin? I'm sure you can have it. Take a good look at the cycle law, thermodynamics. What? You got CGI, we got 200 proofs. You got NASA lies, we got 200 proofs. You got lights in the sky, we got 200 proofs. We got 200 proofs, over 200 proofs. Hey, you got CGI, we got 200 proofs. You got NASA lies, we got 200 proofs. You got lights in the sky, we got 200 proofs. We got 200 proofs, over 200 proofs. Hey,
the earth's flatter than a matador of fat cat, and this rhyme's tighter than a dry hymen line vagina. Your mind's kinda like a fine china dining item, ready to crack at the first sign of any pressure. So let's test you with the best open-ended questions. Consider first, don't just blurt out your worst suggestion. What shapes the world is it twirling around, you reckon? Take a second, you're gonna need a physics lesson. You've been taught that you ought not to feel the spinning, but I've got quite a lot to reveal this evening. It seems you bought an implausible false theory, cause on a ball, there's gradients involved. It's not so simple as one speed for all. 1,000-mile pH heart rate at the equator, with polar observers sitting softly at nil, and everyone between at different speeds still.
You got CGI, we got 200 proofs. You got NASA lies, we got 200 proofs. You got lights in the sky, we got 200 proofs. We got 200 proofs, over 200 proofs. You got CGI, we got 200 proofs. You got NASA lies, we got 200 proofs. You got lights in the sky, we got 200 proofs. We got 200 proofs, over 200 proofs. Hey, Aries failure is just a play on words. No matter how they try, they can't move the earth. Is it on pillars or balanced on elephants? Questions like that may seem like nonsense unless you're willing to clear your mind of all that propaganda they use to confine your own logic and levels of reasoning. We're always hearing explain the seas and see the sun moves itself on a circuit between the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn. You heard of it? How about the spire top of Notre Dame? Ship captain sighted seeing 150 miles away. At the distance it would be a mile below the curve. Light refraction only accounts for a 12th of that yard. They change into shape to a no-blade spheroid. Sounds like the remnants of a bloated schizoid.
I am Werner von Braun. This motion picture was produced to enable you to experience more personally and vividly the most dramatic events of the Apollo 11 story. The pictures and sounds are real, recorded in real time, where the action really was. So, come with us. We are going to the moon.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition sequence start.
We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I think it means that the job of landing something on the moon where there's no atmosphere and using a rocket to slow it up and having the equipment still work is a very difficult job.
We've been brought in here by Stanley Kubrick to more or less ensure the scientific integrity of the film, to make sure that it's very, very close in reality, but still we want to make certain that it has a base of reality.
Before the end of the 60s, we will see a man to the moon, an American, and we're very proud that our country continues to produce these young men who go so far and carry with them so much.
To put people on the moon and with enough fuel to enable them to return safely home to Earth requires a still larger and more powerful rocket, however.
It's going to take some time, and I think we have to recognize it. They secured these large boosters, which have led to their being first in Sputnik and led to their first putting their man in space. We are, I hope, going to be able to carry out our efforts with due regard to the problem of the life of the man involved this year. But we are behind.
However, let us imagine for a moment that the many problems have been solved. We are ready to begin our first voyage to the moon.
It is quite possible that an aggressor nation that dominates space will then dominate the world.
We're in the final assembly building of the LEM. Stanley Kubrick and I have set ourselves several objectives. We hope to convey to the public the wonder and beauty and promise of the new age of exploration which is opening up before the human race.
Martha, here we are on the LEM ship, and one can almost imagine we're on our way to the moon, or we've arrived at the moon, as a matter of fact.
Can you believe it? Can you realize that that you and I, that all of us, have actually begun the exploration of another world? We have taken the first historic step into our solar system.
Take one.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Take two.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We, the crew of Apollo 11, are privileged to represent the United States in our first attempt to take man to another heavenly body.
Man walks on the moon. Man walks on the moon. The first man from Earth walked on the surface of the moon this morning, and the suspense here in London is unbelievable.
Hello, Apollo 11, Houston. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming. I'm going to step off the LEM now. Neil and Buzz, the President of the United States is in his office now and would like to say a few words to you. Over. That would be an honor. Go ahead, Mr. President. This is Houston out.
Hello, Neil and Buzz. I'm talking to you by telephone from the Oval Room at the White House. And this certainly has to be the most historic telephone call ever made in the whole history of man. All the people on this earth are truly one. One in their pride in what you have done. And one in our prayers that you will return safely to earth.
Presented by NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
You can play Scrabble in space. Just keep it velcroed to the wall or the ceiling.
Or go to the top of a hill or a mountain, and you'll see a little farther. But you will not see to the other side of the Earth, places we know to exist. For example, I've been to Vancouver, British Columbia, and you cannot see Vancouver, British Columbia from New York City.
That is bullshit. Now, if you want to believe it, it's okay. If you want to believe bullshit, it's okay. It's okay.
Small sections of large curved surfaces will always look flat.
Like that.
To little creatures that crawl upon it.
Bullshit. Now, Von Braun might have been in favor of it, but that is bullshit.
Discovery and exploration got us out of the cave.
Then if you'd like, look at pictures from space.
As presidential candidates,
those pictures are not fake.
Why on the beat?
Ignorance shouldn't be thought of as a bad word. All right? Ignorant just simply means you don't know. Well, we have many lines of evidence to show that Earth is round, including Apollo photos of the round Earth.
Fresh wine on the beat.
play Scrabble in space. Just keep it velcroed to the wall or the ceiling.
It looked like it was on the moon, but really it wasn't on the moon. It was bullshit.
We left our planet, journeyed off into space, turned around and took a picture to see our beautiful spherical Earth.
You can play Scrabble in space. Just keep it velcroed to the wall or the ceiling.
Those pictures are not fake. Here's why you can tell they're not fake. Just the paperwork to send anything out in space, to send people into orbit or to send them to the moon. That amount of paperwork would make faking it prohibitively expensive. No one could afford to generate that much documentation.
We've been fed a lie. We've been fed lie.
Or no one could afford to generate that much documentation. No one could afford that much paperwork. No one could afford to generate that much documentation.
There's a growing anti-intellectual strain in this country. It may be the beginning of the end of our informed democracy. In a free society, being wrong becomes being harmful to the health, the wealth, and the security of our citizenry. It's a fundamental fact of calculus and non-Euclidean geometry. And by the way, this is gravity.
With gravity, the bigger the mass, the stronger the attraction.
Not on our mission, but if you'll close your eyes and pay attention.
Without gravity, there'd be no you. There'd be no me.
What a great idea.
There'd be no Earth. There'd be no sky.
It just happens to be a lie.
Isaac Newton, my man, said, if I had seen farther than others, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants.
Well, but I'm sure if we asked him after it, he would have said, oh, shit.
And you guys, come on.
I don't care what you say. By the way, I saw him one day, by the way, it was on the moon. By the way, which we had an experiment to do, by the way.
Navigation's changed the world, by the way.
That is bullshit. By the way,
you're wearing stuff that came from another part of the world, by the way.
Where are you?
On a ship, by the way.
Okay.
It didn't get here by magic. It got here through science.
Woo! Once again.
Amen.
If you closed your eyes and just paid attention, that you would see
the Earth in its shape with extraordinary precision.
I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch. You might just see far enough to realize the Earth isn't flat.
From here, the Earth certainly looks flat.
Slightly oblate.
Little chubby. Yeah, chubby's a good word.
Where it ends up as a ball.
It's oblate. And officially, it's an oblate spheroid.
So you get a potato shape. You can play Scrabble in space. Just keep it velcroed to the wall or the ceiling.
Now, one thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go. There's no...
How do we know the Earth is not flat?
We don't. It's flat.
And so I played instruments, especially my favorite songs.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders. ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Space Force, Space Force.
Don't you know, talking about revolution sounds don't you know, talking about it.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Whatever, standing in the way for our lines, crying at those steps of those zombies of salvation, wasting time in the unplumbed lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know, talking about revolution sounds. Poor people gonna raise up and get monsters. Poor people gonna raise up and get their shares. All of you better run, 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 run. Don't you better run, 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 run.
We cannot let our tools escape, for example, with the microphone.
Good evening. What I want to talk with you tonight about is how the flat earth is changing, where innovation is actually happening, how people are working, and how people are learning. Now first, I want to make sure everyone's real clear. When I talk about the flat earth, I'm not going to convince you that the earth is flat. I know it's roundish. And I do have a separate talk on why the earth really is flat, and I can give that at the end of this talk. The reason I use flat earth is I'm trying to get a picture in everyone's head. And so I wanted you to visualize a world that, from a capability and capacity for innovation standpoint, the world really is a plane. And you've got people all over the world, so they're all over this plane, right? And traditionally, where does technology come from? It comes from these so-called technology hubs. That's going to be things like Los Angeles and San Diego, Baltimore, Boston, Tokyo, London, and others. But it's very interesting, though, because what's happening is as we get more connected, right? And I think everybody's probably got a cell phone in this room. Hopefully not a flip phone. I mean, an actual cell phone, a smartphone or something like. Do you have a flip phone? Okay. But as we start looking at, all right, some of the enabling technologies that are out there, the tools and interconnectedness, there's a real fallacy that's starting to come out, which is that the technology hubs are the only place where you can get real and significant innovation. And that's not necessarily true. And in fact, we're seeing data that says otherwise. We're seeing an ebb of the population flow into these big, large, just gigantic cities. And more people, and it's small, and it's a slow change, but they are starting to change. They are starting to stay in some of those flyover state areas. About the geography of the whole thing. So we talked a little bit about the connectedness, right, and the tools and all the everybody's always on all the time. And we say that, but let's just vet that a little bit. Let's validate that. So I've got two examples. The first is a personal example. So last fall I was in Japan for business travel, and I'm on a bullet train from Tokyo to Osaka. It's about 11:30 at night, and you're doing 188 miles an hour, and it's super smooth. And I'm a happy man. I got two things. I got sushi, and I got Wi-Fi. So I'm tickled pink right now. So I'm catching up on email, eating my sushi, maybe an adult beverage on the side, and all of a sudden my boss calls on a video call, and okay, so we start talking, you know, about the week, and then one of her peers comes into her office, because it's morning here in Cedar Rapids, you know, it's almost middle of the night over there. And so we're working through some things, getting ready for another negotiation coming up, and all of a sudden an IM pops up from my wife. She says, hey, the printer at home's broken. And I go, okay. So I take the window that's my boss, and I move her over to the left, and I open up another window and bring up Amazon and start looking for a new laser printer. Still engaged in this conversation. We're working through some slides. And by the way, I'm editing her slides on her desktop and all that good stuff. And I'm ordering a printer. Order the printer, tell my wife the printer's order. We get the negotiation tactics squared away, say goodbye to my boss. And I'm just sitting there going, that really was very incredible. And all the while, I've got my phone that's telling me I'm doing, you know, 188 to 190 miles an hour. And I still have sushi left over. So this is an awesome, awesome night, right? So that's kind of a, you know, gee whiz kind of example. We all have a story like that, but let me get maybe a little more local. It's a processing computer that drives the display system. And that box, the design of that took hundreds of engineers in Iowa and Wisconsin and Minnesota and India. A lot of money and a lot of time, and it's going to be built here in Bellevue. Now, to give you some significant, okay, big hairy deal, right? The 737 is the highest volume production airplane in the world. Airbus contends their A320 is. It's debatable. We let them duke it out. But for the most part, Boeing says, yeah, we are the biggest, and they are. You know how many are airborne right now? 1,700. Typical loading of those airplanes, passenger-wise, means there's at least 300,000 people doing 400 miles an hour in an aluminum can. That's 35 some odd thousand feet, right? So in a couple of years after we've built a lot of these boxes, what's coming out of Bellevue here, local, and was designed for the most part right here in the state of Iowa with some guys in India, some guys in Wisconsin and Minnesota, it's going to be that box. So the point of those two examples, though, is I think we validated, yep, there's the connectivity, there's the tools, we can make this happen, whether it's, you know, within a city, within a state, across the country, around the world, right? So as people started recognizing, golly, I know I can work a little bit different because I can work from home. Well, if I can work from home, why the heck am I working in the same city as here? Because I can just do everything remote. Why don't I move out to Boulder or something like that, right? And so what we saw was this. It was slow, but it was important. What we saw was people going, you know what? I'm going to carry two business cards. And the first business card is the business card for the company that I work for, the traditional career, right? And the second business card is for the side business that I got, okay? And if you think there's just a few of these people, from what we can tell, well, not from what we can tell, we know that at least 30% of the U.S. workforce carries two business cards, okay? Now, the side business, what we're talking about there is these people are literally hiring themselves out after their day job. They're hiring themselves out to go do software development, documentation, verification, system design, build some hardware, whatever it is. And what's great is they're choosing how little they work, how much they work, for whom and where, right? So you're seeing a shift away from that traditional model to something that's a little different. Interviews, trends say that number is going to go from 30% to about half within the next 5 years. And in 10 years from now, about mid-2020s, it's going to go to about two-thirds of the workforce. So two-thirds of the workforce is going to carry not just two, by the way, but three business cards. And that's really interesting, because what it does is that is the rise of the freelance technologist. And in fact, there's a whole kind of this cottage industry growing up around it. There are marketplaces for these freelance technologists and these businesses to be able to find each other, kind of feel each other out a little bit, make sure that the skills flat earth, right? So we talked a little bit about how it doesn't really matter where you're at. You got access and you got connectivity, which means you got the opportunity. And one thing I just want to leave, the one thing I want to leave you with is that based on all that, if you really believe in all the connectivity, if you really believe in all those opportunities, and I need you to believe in them because they're real, there is nothing that any student or any engineer or any technologist in San Francisco, they do not have a leg up in any way, shape, or form over anybody in Bellevue, Iowa, or Cedar Rapids, or Linton, North Dakota, in terms of their ability to, and to quote Steve Jobs, to make a dent in the universe. So that's all I got. Thank you so much.
Living free, it's gaining on me. Can't keep the hit of my dream. My relief turned out to be smooth as rocks in the street. This old town is a sad affair. You'll be glad you're not there. It ties your hands, it spikes your dream. I'd say more, I can't think. Lazy Jane took a bottle with him, tried to fly down a train, left a note, couldn't read what he wrote. A light came on in my head. This old town is a sad affair. You'll be glad you're not there. It ties your hand, it spikes your dream. I'd say more, but I can't think. The years I go, and mornings I go, don't know a soul out on the street. I keep to myself like everyone else. Nobody says much to me. Go to bed, find thoughts in my head. In the time, train began to sleep.
Commander 𝒾𝓉'𝓈, followed by Mission Specialist 𝒾𝓉'𝓈, Ron McNair, and pilot Mike Smith, followed by 𝓉𝒽𝒶𝓉'𝓈, Teacher in Space, Ellison on Azuka, and Payload Specialist Greg Jarvis. Big smiles today. Confidently getting into the van. They're going to go up to that pad and attempt a second try. Second try at launch today. It'll take a few minutes for the astronaut van to get to the pad.
Then 5 lunar orbiters photographed over 90% of the moon's surface, including the never-before-seen backside. We saw a glimpse, too, of craft made soft landings on the moon over a 2-year period. Communications via satellite exploded into a whole new industry. Relay, designed to transmit television, telephone, and high-speed data. Blazed a trail for Project Apollo, the 3-man spacecraft that would carry astronauts. Here's a visual look back at some of that preparation. The pace quickened. Starting with Apollo 8, every Saturn V launched had a 3-man crew. Lights looked good. Our Earth seemed small and fragile, hanging in the vastness of space. Before Project Apollo ended, 6 additional flights to the moon were made. ASTP, Apollo-Soyuz Test Project, a joint endeavor between the Soviet Union and the United States. Explorers to the infrared astronomy satellite. 7 Mariner spacecraft flew by the planets Mars, Venus, and Mercury. 10 Pioneer spacecraft did likewise, including Jupiter flybys and probes through the atmosphere of Venus. Pioneer 10 became the first man-made object to leave the solar system. Atmosphere physics, astronomy, meteorology, and geodesy. These are just a few of the scientific disciplines studied by dozens of Explorer-class orbiters through the years. Hundreds of sounding rockets have probed the atmosphere above where balloons are effective, but below the area that satellites fly. Biosatellite, the lander's robot arm, conducted chemical and biological tests on the soil. By pivoting the wing at various angles to the plane's fuselage, with only one try, was critical. The first Americans in 9 years to walk in space. Practice needed for satellite repair work. European Space Agency, Spacelab is creating exciting new opportunities for research in all the sciences. It will be a truly significant national asset.
Look around, what do you see?